Okay, so let's say officially welcome again. And let's go ahead and start with a little bit of theory. Of course, at the end of the session, there will be some practice as well. So you see Gemini in action and how it will actually help us on our daily day tasks. So Gemini will become your artificial intelligence power assistant. As the name says, basically, it's important we all understand that this is not here to replace people. This is not here to do your job. It's actually to help you as an assistant, as a very smart assistant that will never be tired, basically, and that you can ask for many different things. So that's the idea here. So part of the importance of giving you information about Gemini. Compared to others, Gemini, it's actually what we call generative AI. And it's called this way because literally what it does, it generates information based on your request. Of course, you need to provide context. You need to provide all information. The more details, the more specific you are with your request, the better result you'll get. And in this case, it's important we start by saying that generative AI is not the same as talking about deep learning models. So nowadays, there are thousands of options in the market. We've seen a lot. So this is why it is very important that we translate this information and de-escalate everything to our teams as soon as possible, because we have seen that based on lack of knowledge and not having a lot of information around, when employees in companies start seeing that there are thousands of different options available there in the market for free, they may start using it because everyone wants to work with artificial intelligence now, especially because they all know that working with artificial intelligence means saving a lot of time, doing things faster, in a better way. But what they sometimes don't know is the fact that whenever you use something for free, at the end of the day, it's not really free. Those artificial intelligence that we see there out there in the market, such as ChatGPT, Copilot, even Gemini in a free version, if you just have a Gmail account for free, and whatever other you consider Meta AI, because there are too many right now. But whatever option you choose, you need to understand that those are deep learning models, which means that because you're not paying anything for them, you're using them for free. Then if you really read carefully the terms and conditions, you'll notice that actually they are letting you know that all your information is being recorded, that all your information is being analyzed even by humans. And at the end of the day, the most risky of all is that all your information becomes out of public domain because the model is learning from it. So whatever interaction you have with those models, then basically that information is already public. That's why it's very important that we take care of this as soon as possible by letting people know that they are not supposed to use those deep learning models for free, because they are just putting into risk the information from the company, especially if they start dealing with confidential information, sensitive information, or even financial details from your company just to create a project or something similar. Because after they've done that, basically all that information became out of public domain. So that's why even, for example, in this very own meeting, I received a couple of requests for those note takers on artificial intelligence to join. And actually, those were rejected by me because we have our internal policy within Easters Capital where we do not allow those note takers to be part of our meetings. And the reason why, it's because we do believe there are a couple of violations to privacy. First of all, it will join the meeting without asking the rest of the people if they all agree to be recorded, because once the note taker is part of the meeting, whoever speaks, whoever says something, even on chat or whatever, the artificial intelligence is taking notes on that. It's recording that information. That's how they get to the end, just to provide you a summary on the meeting. But we don't really know how they're treating that information, where the information is being stored, what will be the analysis they're doing to that information, and especially because we know that all that information becomes out of public domain at the end of the day, which is what I was telling you. So totally opposite to that, on the other hand, we have Gemini, and that's why on this very own slide, we're talking about security, because that remains as priority number one for Google at all times. So it's important we understand that Google Workspace if your company has a current active contract with Google for Google Workspace services, that contract already tells you that security and priority and privacy are priority number one for Google all the time. So the benefit we get is that now that we have Gemini available for Google Workspace, it will be basically attaching to the same contract and just providing you the same privacy and the same security as priority number one. So that's why we see listed here a couple of details just to let you know exactly how Gemini works, Gemini for Google Workspace in this case. So your data is your data. What does that mean? It means that whatever you do as an interaction with Gemini for Google Workspace will stay between you as an end user and Gemini. Not even other people within your company can see what you're doing. They don't have access to your interaction. Not even an administrator through the administrative console, they cannot check information on that way. So there's nothing that can be violating your privacy because everything is your data at the end of the day. Your privacy is protected. That's something they can guarantee. And it's important. We all know that all your data, whatever you're doing, whatever interaction you're having, will stay within Google Workspace, which means will stay within your domain. That means that the Gemini artificial intelligence model is not actually learning from it, is not recording any information. And of course, we can guarantee here at a contract level that this information will not be disclosed in any way. That's why it says here that your content is not used for ad targeting. So whatever you're doing with Gemini will not be displaying you any ads after that because it is not related. Your data is not used by any other client. That's also very important to know. So nothing will be shared, nothing will be disclosed. And the existing protection for your data is automatically applied. What does that mean? Those are great news for IT departments, because whatever DLP rules, whatever protection, whatever limitation they created within your domain will be automatically applied to Gemini as well. So they don't have to start from scratch, because whatever restrictions and rules we have in our company, those will be automatically applied. So we can summarize everything by saying that all your interactions with Gemini will stay within your organization. So at the end of the day, this information is not does not belong to Google, belongs to your company. But as I said, even though the information belongs to your company, it does not mean that anybody else within the company can see what I'm doing. So whatever interactions I'm having with Gemini, those will be for me only. And then on the right side of the screen, we see here that Gemini is actually the first enterprise-ready certified artificial intelligence assistant. What does that mean? It means that if we, in our companies, we have any type of certification, and if we're concerned that if we start using Gemini, we may lose our certification because we're not complying. Actually, that's far from reality, because Gemini already complies with most of security certifications currently available in the market. ISO certifications, SOC 1, 2, and 3. So all of them that you see there on those lists, those are already certifications that were acquired by Gemini already. So we are within compliance, and we can use these artificial intelligence assistants with no hassle at all. Now, moving forward, how will be Gemini transforming your productivity? What are we doing different now? Okay, saving time, it's the first thing we know, because whatever you're doing, if it takes a couple of days, if it takes you a couple of weeks just to perform, let's say, a marketing campaign, at least just to plan it, then basically you can save a lot of time, because whenever you start providing information to Gemini through the prompt, then Gemini will help you out and will give you an answer in just a matter of seconds. So instead of spending a lot of time, you can do things now faster, and that will be saving you a lot of time, which means, of course, that will be improving the quality of your work. Why? Because if in the past you didn't have too many resources, or if you were just searching for something or investigating something, then it will be taking you a lot of time, and you didn't have a lot of resources to perform those actions. Now with Gemini, you can ask Gemini to go anywhere, because Gemini has access to the whole world through the web. So you can just ask Gemini to go to a specific website, or to find out about a specific topic you need, or just check on files that you're providing. Gemini can also work with files that you provide as a source of information. So, of course, at the end, it will give you a lot of details and a lot of information, which will make you improve the quality of the work you do. Which means also it will be inspiring your creativity, because sometimes, I don't know if this ever happened to you, but you feel like blocked. like you have been doing a lot of different things, and at a certain point in time you don't know what else to do, or you don't have any fresh ideas. Well, here with Gemini you can ask for creativity to happen. It will inspire you by giving you other examples, other information, which at the end translates into making better decisions. Why? Because you will be more informed. As I said, you'll have access to any time, any information you need in the world. So at the end of the day, those are the important things we understand on how Gemini will be helping us as a artificial intelligence assistant. And the most important, as it says at the bottom, while keeping your data private and secure. This is very, very important, and that's why we can be 100% sure that we can go ahead and use Gemini within our organization. We can feel free to provide confidential information, financial details, name of our customers, a list of people, database, whatever you want, because at the end, Gemini is not really recording that information, is not analyzing that through humans as others do. And of course, as I said, the model is not even learning from that information, which is important, we all know. Now, the great news we have, and the reason why we decided to create this session for you guys as to what's new in Google Workspace, is because as of 2024, Gemini had an additional cost per license. So if you wanted to apply Gemini to your organization, they were telling you what was the price per license you have to pay on a monthly basis, or if you have a yearly contract or similar. So things change as of January 2025. Those are the great news that were provided by Google, because they said that now Gemini is not an additional cost as an additional license. Instead, what they did is that they said, we're going to modify a little bit about the Google Workspace license that they currently have. And all Google Workspace users, as long as they have a valid license right now, Gemini will be included there. So that's the great news. But of course, there are a couple of things we need to go over just to understand the differences here. So that's why on the left side of the screen, we're talking about business or enterprise licenses. If they are starter level, then basically what you get is the artificial intelligence for Gemini will be integrated with Gmail. So within Gmail, you can use it to write a new email, to reply to a chain of emails, to help you search through your inbox, or even to help you summarize your emails as well. So that will be integrated. Of course, we'll see a few examples on that in just a few more minutes. If you have also a starter license, you will have access to chat with Gemini through Gemini app. That's the website. So it's gemini.google.com. But in this case, it will be Gemini 1.5 Flash. That's the version you get, which is like a lighter version of Gemini. This one does not have the capability to generate images, including people. It can generate images as long as there's no people involved in the image you're asking for. And also, Gemini 1.5 Flash, the Gemini app version, does not have the power to analyze data. So you cannot upload Google Sheets or even Microsoft Excel files and ask for information to be analyzed, because this one does not have the power to analyze data. And last but not least, you also get access to the artificial intelligence-based research assistant, which is called Notebook LM. This one, it's really powerful. Of course, we'll see a few examples here today as well. The idea with Notebook is that you can provide sources of information through files, through URLs, through YouTube videos, many different options available there. And then using those sources of information you provided to the Notebook, then you can start asking questions. You can ask for summaries and many different things you can perform with Notebook LM. So that's what's included in case you have enterprise or business license at a starter level. Now, what we see on the right side of the screen, it's if you have a business or enterprise license, but then there are two different tiers. That will be the standard and plus. So either or will include the following. So Gemini integrated within every single tool for Google Workspace, including Gmail, Docs, Drive, Sheets, Slides, Meet, Drive, everywhere. So that means that the tools you already work with, the apps within Google Workspace, will already have Gemini integrated. Depending on the tool, that's what Gemini will help you do. For example, for Gmail and Docs, it will help you write, create, analyze, summarize, rewrite, refine different things that can do. If we talk about Drive, then it will allow you to compare files, to summarize files, things like that. If you talk about Google Sheets, it can help you organize your content. It can help you create formulas, charts, those type of things. We talk about Slides. It will help you generate images for your presentations. And Google Meet, it will allow you to have a studio version of Google Meet, which means your image is improved. Whenever you turn on your camera, there are filters, there's professional lighting, there's also improving in your voice. If there's any background noise, the background noise can be canceled based on artificial intelligence, so they can still listen to your voice without all the background noise. And many different options that will be available there in Google Meet as well. Important things that you can do in Google Meet as well. You can also take notes of an existing meeting. You can just click there and it will start taking notes. So at the end of the meeting, it will give you a translation of the whole meeting, as well as a summary that you can use to whatever purpose you have. But in this case, everything will be secure because that information will not be disclosed. And in this case, it's important we all know that you will be using Gemini Advanced whenever you go to the website. So whenever you go through gemini.google.com, this will be a more powerful version because it's Gemini Advanced. This one has the power to analyze data, which means you can actually upload a Google Sheets file and ask for analysis to be performed, charts, and whatever type of result you're asking from that files. It's something that could happen. And as well, talking about generating images, as what we did before. In here, not only you can ask images to be generated, but in this case, you can also include people. So you can say, I need a picture of a person doing this or whatever, and that image will be completed on the other version on the left side of the screen. If it includes people, the image will not be generated. And then we also have access to Notebook LM, but this time it will be Notebook LM Plus, which means that it will give you the power to add more sources of information. For example, on the Notebook LM basic version, you can upload up to 50 sources of information per notebook. On Notebook LM Plus, that will be actually upgraded to 300 sources of information that you can upload there. And also, there are a couple of other things, such as sharing your notebook through Notebook LM Plus will allow you to say if you don't want to share the whole notebook with others and just share a chat. So what others can do is just chat and get an answer based on sources of information you uploaded, as well as it will give you access to statistics. So you can say after 7 days of sharing the notebook with other users, you can get some information just to follow up on as to what's the most frequently asked question, what's the information they are needing the most, and those type of things that will happen after 7 days of using that. And of course, it's important to mention here as well, because that's another important question people is asking us. If in my organization, we only have business accounts or business licenses, can I turn off Gemini for users? The answer is no. The only option available where companies can turn off Gemini for their users, it's only when they have enterprise license. So if you do have enterprise license, regardless of the tier, you do have the power to say, I can turn it off in case I want to train my people first, or in case I just want to make a memo and send it to the whole company just to let them know that as of now, we're having Gemini and what are the different things we can perform. So in that case, you can turn it off and you can go ahead and start turning it on Gemini for specific groups or for specific organizational units, but that will be only if you have enterprise licenses. If you only have business licenses, those will not have the power for you as an administrator to turn it on or turn it off. In those cases, it's on and it will stay on since January that Google launched officially this news. So moving forward, this is what we have on Notebook. Of course, we're going to see Notebook in action, but this is just to give you a heads up. So basically, this is how on the left side of the screen, we launch different sources of information. In the center, we have the chat option. And on the right side of the screen, we have other toys there that we can play a little bit. We can just create notes. We can take advantage of some pre-established notes that can be created by just clicking on a button there. So a lot of things we can perform with that information here. Now, the most important out of artificial intelligence to keep in mind is how to write a great prompt. This is key because, believe it or not, what we have seen so far, it's people just not taking advantage of artificial intelligence because they don't know how to write a great prompt. And originally, Google launched this officially to production like about a year and a half ago. And after 6 months in production, they ran a study just to find out how people was doing with prompting specifically. And they found out that it was disappointing for them because they did a lot of effort just to allow users to enter prompts with up to 1 million words. So imagine what would be the power there, up to 1 million words. And what happened after they ran the study? They just noticed that average users were creating prompts with 8 words or less. So that was a shame because people was not really taking advantage of artificial intelligence, and that's the reason why the feedback from users usually was just like, Gemini is not doing what I want. Gemini is not really understanding my request. And then the answer from Google was, well, it's because you're not doing the right prompt. So if you do not provide information, if you do not provide details, the more specific you are with your request, the better result you'll get. And writing prompts with 8 words or less is like too simple. So you're not really going into a lot of details there. And that's the reason why you're just getting like a very generic answer, which may not satisfy your needs. So that's why Google decided to launch like a whole campaign with ads everywhere in social media and a lot of different places. One of that is I remember that one. They took the out of the Lord of the Rings trilogy. They took the book, the second one, the Two Towers, which is the biggest book in text, with more pages than the other two, and they grabbed the whole book. They copied the whole text and they pasted inside the prompting box, and still they had room to say, okay, so with this information, I want you to enlist the main characters. I also want you to tell me what's going on with this story, and I want you to tell me how it ends. And in just a matter of seconds, Google was able to perform everything through Gemini and give an answer. So this is giving the power to people to let them understand that if they were able to paste the whole book and still had room to ask for questions and a specific request, and they had the power to do it. So actually, that was very powerful for people to understand that they were just not taking advantage of prompting in the proper way by just not using 1 million words, which is what they were supposed to. So at the end of the day, people understood that they were doing something wrong by just not providing full details through the prompt. And 6 months later, Google decided to run the study again, and they noticed that actually people was changing now, because instead of just using 8 words or less, they were now actually using 22 words or more. So of course, people understood that instead of just providing a simple sentence, they were supposed to create a whole paragraph with more information, more specific requests, more details, more context. Because in here, the phrase that we have been listening all of our lives that says the easier the better, or just the simple the better, then that's not longer valid here. The more information you provide, the better result you'll get. That's how it works. So basically, it's very important you provide all the details. So a couple of tips we have for you here. It's to define a persona. So you can ask Gemini to become whatever you want. So even though I'm not a psychologist, even though I'm not an engineer, even though I'm not a teacher, I can ask Gemini, okay, so I want you to do this for me, but act as if you were a kinder teacher, or act as if you were an engineer, or act as if you were a psychologist and provide me feelings on this, or whatever you want. So you do have the power that you can define a persona and ask Gemini to actually act as that specific person. You can also specify a format. This is very, very important. Whenever you're thinking about something you need in return, think about the format you want. Because believe it or not, this is something that happened to me in the past. People was complaining like, Mario, I asked this information to be analyzed, and this is the answer Gemini gave me, but I don't see a table, I don't see a chart, I don't see a flow chart, I don't see a lot of things that were supposed to happen. Okay, that portion of the sentence were supposed to happen, that's the problem. Nothing is supposed to happen unless you ask for it. So if you want a chart, you need to say, okay, so I want you to analyze this information and give me this chart. Or I want you to analyze this information and based on that, create a flow chart or just give me a comparison table, whatever you need. It's not always analyzing information. Something is just, sometimes could be just creating or generating something, but at the end, you still need to specify the format if you're, especially whenever you're looking for something very specific. So the more specific you are with your request, as I said, the better result you'll get. Provide examples. So if you have even a file and you can say, okay, so I have this file and the same way this file is structured, that's the same way I want the answer from you, then you can share the file with Gemini and Gemini can use it as an example. Or you can just say, I'm sharing with you this table and I want the same table to be created again, but with information that you're analyzing or with whatever you're creating for me. So that's exactly whatever it's supposed to happen. Now, on the right side of the screen, we give you a generic prompt. This is just a very generic prompt, just as an example, but it includes 5 pieces of information we consider so far based on our own experience that will help you improve the quality of your prompts as long as you include those 5 pieces of information. So first of all, who will do it? As I said, you can specify the role that Gemini is supposed to assume to complete whatever request you're doing. So on this example, in yellow, it says act like an information security expert. Okay, so I'm already letting Gemini know that it is supposed to act as a security information expert. Number 2, action. What activity will you perform? Usually, this one will need a verb. Write, refine, create, analyze, summarize, whatever you need. In this case, in orange, we see you need to write. So specifically saying what Gemini is supposed to do. Then in blue, the purpose. What answer do you want from Gemini? So in this case, I'm saying, okay, so you're going to write. What is Gemini supposed to write? 3 social media posts telling them about our new product. Okay, so I'm letting Gemini know that I will be posting that information through social media. I need 3 different examples. And this is just to let them know that we have a new product that we're selling. Now, number 4, the audience. Who is it for? Who needs it and who is involved? So in this case, for IT managers, why do you think it's important we mention the audience here? Okay, since this is something that I'll be using in social media, of course, I want to be more specific and say, you know what, this is going for IT managers, which means you have to use a more professional type of language. You can use technical terms because they will understand. And if we're talking about security information, I want you to provide us more details as possible so they can solve all their questions without having to ask me later for that. So it will be totally different if I say, okay, my audience is 8-year-old boys, for example, or totally opposite. I can say this is for elder people. So I want you to make sure they understand with simple words, even though they don't have a clue on technology. I want still to be able to understand. And number 5, the expectations. In this case, in green, what we see here is use a formal tone. Now, remember, it's not only about the tone, because I can say formal tone, friendly, emotional, whatever you want. But besides the tone, it's also important the format, as we described earlier. So if you need a table, say you need a table. If you need a drawing, say you need a drawing. Whatever you need, just make sure you provide details there. That will be very important. And remember, this is a very generic example. So if you think we can add more, of course, we can just modify this and enhance the prompt a little bit more. For example, a couple of things I'll change just to let you know up front. Instead of just saying 3 social media posts, I'll rather say which social media. So if one is going to YouTube, the other one is going to TikTok, the other one is going to Instagram or Facebook, I'll rather say which social media I'm using, because remember that the type of postings we do, it's different defined by the social media that I'm working with. So I'll just provide more details there. I'm also saying that I want to let them know about the new product. Okay, which one is my new product? How is it called? What are the benefits? Do I have more information about that? Do I have a file that describes the new product that I can add to the prompt so Gemini can use that as a source of information? Then I'll do it and I'll provide more details there. So a lot of things that can be improved. Remember that you can improve it on your own way as long as you include those 5 pieces of information. And one of the things important here, totally opposite to what we learned in math when we were back in school, that the order will affect the result. In here, it does not really affect the result. So you can just organize this your own way. I mean, you can start with the expectations, then say who the audience will be, then what's the action you want Gemini to complete. It doesn't matter. You can just put it in whatever order you prefer. It does not literally needs to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. As long as you include those 5 pieces of information, that's good enough. So that being said, and emphasizing that again in the prompting, which is the key aspect on working with artificial intelligence, we're going to go over and start with a few examples. So let me just share with you my screen. Okay, so let me share with you my Gmail inbox, for example. So we said that one of the things we have, regardless if you're a starter or if you're a standard plus license, you all have Gemini integrated within Gmail. How does that work? Okay, if I'm just trying to compose a new email and I click here on compose, I want you to notice that once I'm starting to write a new message, at the bottom, there's a new button that in the past I didn't have, which is this one here at the very bottom of the screen. A pencil with a star for Gemini that says help me write. In case you want to zoom in, I'm also letting you know that each of you can zoom in up to 200%. All you have to do is hover over with your mouse at the bottom right corner of the screen I'm sharing, and it will display a magnifying glass icon there for you, and you can zoom in case you feel like you cannot read what I'm doing. So I'm right now located at the bottom of the screen. So the help me write button becomes available there. As long as you click on it, it will display the text box we see at the very bottom where you can enter your prompt. So here is where you're supposed to say what you want Gemini to do. Of course, remember, we are here in the integrated version. We are using the option to write something. So I'm supposed to write an email. I'm supposed to send something via email. That's what I can ask here with a prompt. So, of course, do not expect to come here to Gemini, click on the Help Me Write option, and ask for an image to be generated, and then Gemini will fail to generate the image, and you will be frustrated saying, I asked for an image, and it didn't happen. Okay, you just need to understand that depending on the result you're looking for, that's the tool you'll be using. But whenever you're using the integrated version of Gemini within Google Workspace apps, then they are limited to a couple of things they can do. So in here, it's Help Me Write. So they can help you write something from scratch. They can help you rewrite, refine, summarize. That's what they can do here in Gmail. So I just have a pre-established prompt. I'm just going to copy and paste that one so we save a lot of time. But pretty much the message says that I want to write an email to the whole company, to all employees, just to notify them that we have recently hired a new CTO. I'm very excited just to let them know that this CTO usually used to work for Google specifically, but now is working with us in East Capital. He has a lot of experience, and I even want to point out the fact that he was recently awarded with by being the most innovative CTO in the world on the next event of 2023, for example. So I'm just providing all details here. So at the end of the day, I do know what I want to say. It's just that I don't have the right words and I don't know how to start my email. So that's why I'm asking help for Gemini to support me on this one. So I just click on create. And as you can see, in just a matter of seconds, it's just generating an idea for me. And this is the draft. So it tells me, dear employees, and it's giving me information here. Now, very important to keep in mind, even though Gemini is helping you, you cannot blame on Gemini later on. At the end of the day, the responsibility belongs to you. Why am I saying that? Because believe it or not, we have seen a lot of people in different companies that if their boss is complaining because they did something that they were not supposed to, they just blame on Gemini. Like, oh, I'm sorry, but the email was written by Gemini, so it was not me. No, that's something that cannot be say as an answer to your boss at the end, or to whoever that could be. At the end of the day, it's important you keep in mind that it's still your responsibility. So you need to do a very critical analysis on the information that's being provided to you. You need to read the whole text. You need to just delete if there's something that does not comply to whatever you want or does not convey the message you want. You can just replace it, remove it, change, modify, whatever you want to do. But at the end, it's your responsibility. Now, if I don't like the answer Gemini provided to me, I still have the button here at the bottom to recreate the message, where I can also refine. If I click on refine, I have the option to formalize, elaborate, or shorten, whatever I need. Now, once I'm happy with the message, I can just click on insert. It becomes editable text now. And now you can do whatever changes you want. Of course, we need to add the recipients, the subject, and then send the message. But instead of taking a long time just to find out the right way to convey this message, now you can just do it in a matter of seconds by just getting assistance from Google. Now, if I go and I want to reply an existing email, that's something else you can do as well. Let's take an example here. Let's take a look at this one. So what if I have a chain of emails? This time, everything is in Spanish. But even though everything is in Spanish, I can still use Gemini. And because my account it's set as English as a primary language, then everything will be translated automatically. I don't even need to ask for it. So if you notice here, it was telling me at the beginning that there's a conversation of 5 people talking about a specific subject. What if I do not have the time to read the whole conversation? Well, I can just click on the right hand on the top, the Gemini icon here, and there are different buttons available there on the right panel. Summarize this email. What can Gemini do in Gmail? List action items from this email. So I can say, okay, summarize this email. So as you notice at the bottom, it just generated a prompt just to provide a more detailed summary of this email. I'm okay with it. I just hit enter, and I just need to wait for a few seconds. And on the right panel, it will give me a summary of everything that happened here. And as you notice, everything is automatically translated to English. So it's telling me that Mario asked the team for opinions on this new Google Docs paperless format. Then Karel mentioned that the pageless format, it's incredible. Victor said that has a potential cost saving. Carla mentioned that there are a couple of benefits for navigation. Ismael finds it useful. And then overall, this is the answer that Gemini is giving me. Okay, so since I started the whole conversation, I can ask Gemini, what should I reply? And I can just hit enter. And basically what Gemini will do, now that they have already the whole context, Gemini can give an answer for me. Okay, so this is what you are supposed to reply. Okay, so I can just click on reply here on the email. And whenever I'm ready to start writing something, instead of writing, I can just click on the message on the button here to insert on the right side. And the answer will be inserted here. I can just remove the numbers if I don't want to, but I want you to notice that at the end of the day, it's giving me an answer to follow up on this. So it was able to give me a lot of help by just summarizing the whole chain. And instead of reading the whole conversation, I can just read this in less than 5 minutes, be up to date. And at the end, I can even create an answer for them using the right panel as well. So a lot of things you can do with this right panel, and especially, as I was telling you, one of the benefits you get with this one as well, besides summarizing emails, is that you can also use it as a search box. So if you're searching for a specific email, a lot of people are usually complaining whenever they use the search box on top because they don't know connectors, they don't know the key, they don't know many different things that they don't know how to do it. So sometimes even though they try and still they don't get the email, here it will change a lot of things because this is like a more humanized, if you want to call it that way of searching for an email, because instead of just using connectors or very specific words, I can just simply say the whole story. I can say, like, I remember that around 6 months ago, I was talking to this person about this subject. I remember that this person sent me a couple of files with this information. So can you help me find something like that? And then based on your story, it will do a search through your Gmail inbox and help you with that one. Now, if we move forward, let's say if we want to go on Docs. On Docs, there are a couple of different options available, as long as I just go with a blank document. A couple of options available here with Gemini. Can either help you write, so very similar to what we just did on Gmail. The button here on top, help me write. For example, it happened to me a couple of months ago that my human resources manager approached me and said, Mario, you know what, since you're the trainer, why don't you go ahead and help me creating a job description for your job position, like for a trainer, for Google Workspace trainer, what do you need? So I had to comply with that request, but I was not really sure on what I was doing because I don't work for human resources. So I didn't know like the template or what should I do to create a job description. Well, so I just came here to Gemini, help me write and say, okay, so I'm a trainer for Google Workspace. I work for Research Capital. I need a job description. These are a couple of my responsibilities. And this is like a couple of qualifications you must have just to apply for this job. And then Gemini created the whole job description for me. It was perfect. So I read it. I noticed that it was okay. So then I sent it to my human resources manager, and she was very happy. She was like, okay, Mario, so you do know how to create a job description because what you sent me is just perfect. So I was happy, and I was just using Gemini. The other option available here is to create a document. So if instead of just helping you write, you want Gemini to create the whole document with images, with format and a specific format for the whole document, then you can just click on create a document. And this is the option that will become available for you. So it says that you need to describe here the document you want to create. You can use the @ symbol just to include content from your files. So if you want to link other file for that content to be used towards creation of this new document, you can also tag those other files here, or you can just create a simple description. It gives you a couple of examples here. So for example, if I'm just trying to create an employee onboarding guide that highlights employee perks, or if I'm just planning document to launch new strawberry and matcha, a template for 15-minute daily stand-up meeting. So a couple of examples they give you here, just as general examples. You can just shuffle to see something else. So whatever you want can be created here. Let's use one of those examples. So I'm just going to click on this one, which will be just creating the generic prompt. So it says a party planning checklist for a surprise birthday party with a tropical theme. Include a timeline of tasks, milestones, deadlines, and dependencies. Okay, so create. So based on that prompt, of course, remember, you can write whatever you want. And the benefit you get is that this one has the power not just to write something, but in here, it will include images generated with artificial intelligence, tables, or anything else you requested. And this is what it created for me. So as you can see, it's even creating an image for me of a tropical birthday party on top. Created a table with a timeline, created dependencies. So everything I ask, it's actually included here. And it's always asking me to score the result that I got. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Feedback is always very important and appreciated by Gemini team. So as you notice, everything can be created in just a matter of seconds. Of course, once I'm done on creating this, let's say thumbs up, I can still go ahead and modify this because at the end, it's an editable file. So I can just replace whatever I don't like, or I can just modify. That's part of the things you need to do. Remember what we said, I cannot just blame on Gemini later on. So it's always important for me to check on what information was provided to me and just make sure I modify and customize that for my needs. Now let's move forward, and let's say we want to go into Gemini website. Okay, so I have two different options. I can either click here on the 9 dots on the top right corner, and Gemini is listed here as one of the tools, or I can just simply go ahead and open a new tab from my web browser and add the address gemini.google.com. And automatically it will be launching my Gemini Advanced. First of all, I need to confirm I'm signed in with my business account. So as you notice, it says Gemini for Easters Capital Inc. So I can be 100% sure that I'm working with my business account. On the top left corner, it says this is Gemini Advanced. And on the top left, and on the top right, I can click on it, and it's my user. So tell me I already signed in. Now, what can I do here? Okay, I can use the plus symbol, and I can add images from my computer. I can upload files from my computer as well, or I can just share files from my drive. Those files will be used towards whatever I need. Analyze information, create something, whatever I want. I can just ask that information to be completed here. Now, if I don't want to type in my prompt, I can also use the microphone. So I can click on it, and it will be activating my microphone, and I can just say with my voice, everything that I want to be completed, like building my own prompt with my voice, so I don't even have to type that one. Let me share an example here with you. So let's say, in just a few seconds. So what if they share with me this file, for example? So they share with me this file with banking information. This is like sales. So as you can see, there's a lot of information here, right? So I have the name of the executive, I have the date of the movement, the type of product that was sold, the amount, and the branch. A lot of information here, but this is usually what we call raw information because nothing is analyzed. I don't have anything here that's ready for me to use, but still I can take advantage that I have the file. I can just click on it, on the plus symbol, go to Drive, use my recent files, for example, the bank data. I'm uploading that file from my drive, and now all I have to do is type in my prompt. So what do I need with this information? Okay, so I can just say with the prompt, for example, this one here, I can say, why don't you go ahead and analyze? I don't know if you noticed, but this file contains details from 2021, 2022, 2023. So even though it has like a lot of years of information there, I'm just saying analyze sales and marketing data from the last 6 months. I'm being very specific that it will be searching and just providing details about last 6 months. And with those 6 months, I want you to identify patterns and trends, and I want you to suggest 3 concrete strategies to increase my revenue in the next quarter. And besides that, since you're the expert, I want you to create charts with the most important aspects. So I'm not even saying what charts I need. I'm just leaving Gemini to use its own creativity and just tell me what are the most important aspects with charts. So I can just send this request specifically, and it will start with the analysis. First of all, important to mention here, I didn't even say how my file is in format. So I didn't say what columns it has, how much information can be found there, if there's a date format or a currency format in one of the columns. I didn't mention anything at all. I just provided the file, and I asked for an analysis to be run. So what's doing first? First of all, for those of you who know a little bit about coding and developing and programming, it's using a Python code, Python query specifically, just to understand my file, read each of those columns and understand the type of information that can be found there. So as you can see, the information is now completed. So first of all, if I just want to notice and I want to know exactly what was done, I can click on Show Code here on the top right corner, and it will display the whole Python query that was created by Gemini just to understand my file. So everything happened here just to read my file and understand the information. After that, I can keep it hidden if I don't like that or if I don't even need it. I can just scroll down, and I want you to notice that a couple of charts were created. So the total sales over the last 6 months. So it's giving me here information. I can click on this one just to see the table where this information was gotten from. I can also check on customizing the chart a little bit. So if I want to switch that, instead of being line, I would like to have bars, for example. If I prefer, I can just customize my chart a little bit and then have that updated. And if I need this one, I can just click on copy and I can paste it wherever I need it. For example, if I need it here at the bottom of this document, I can just go ahead and click it here and I can paste it, and I have a chart in my document. I can resize it. Of course, that means I can paste this chart on a presentation, on a document, on Google Sheets, wherever you need it, you can just paste it there. And then if I continue reading, it's giving me information here. So it's telling me a little bit of analysis, what happened, the overall average sales amount, the month-to-month, everything, and specifically complying with my request. Based on these insights, I suggest the following 3 strategies to increase revenue in the next quarter. So capitalize on positive momentum from August, November, and December, investigate and address the decline in September and October, maintain the growth in July and November. So it's telling me specifically what I requested for. So as you can see, Gemini Advanced is a very powerful tool based on a website app. And all you have to do is create your own prompt, provide files if you have to, and those actions that you're doing, you can save them so they can stay here on the left side of the screen if you prefer. So for example, if you like what you're seeing, but then you want to keep that with you just in case you need to go over more information on that later on, you can just say, okay, so I'm just going to click on it. As you can see, everything is performed again as if I never deleted. So I have that information here. I can just click on the 3 dots and I can pin it, which means I can add an emoji and change the name. And if I pin it, then it will be staying here on the left side of the screen with the other information that I have. So whenever I click on it, for example, on this one here, even if I say new chat and everything was erased, I can just click on data charts, and it can just go ahead and give me the details again. So I can just keep it with me. Usually, this is something we suggest as a best practice, because most of administrators can now select like for how long will those recent activity will stay there, like 30 days, and then starts being deleted. So if you don't want that to be deleted, it's better if you pin it so you can keep it with you longer and just continue using the same scenario whenever you need it. For example, a couple of months ago, I wanted to try how Gemini was generating images. So I said, why don't you go ahead and give me the main characters for Lord of the Rings, but instead of being people, as if they were dogs. So this is what I got, and I save it because I like it a lot. So this was my prompt: create images from the main characters in Lord of the Rings in dog versions. And then I got a Frodo Baggins, Gandalf, Legolas, Gimli. So those are high definition images. And one of the benefits you have by generating images with Gemini is that those are free of copyrights, because the way Google sees is that they say this image will never existed unless you ask for it through your prompt. So at the end of the day, the image really belongs to you. So that's why you have the power to download the image and use it towards whatever purpose you want, even commercial purposes, ads, whatever you need. It doesn't really matter. The image belongs to you. So that's something important here. Now, if you have also the advanced version, which means for standard or plus users, they also have the benefit that they can create their own gems. So remember at the beginning, we said that Gemini is not really learning from you, is not recording any information, and of course, not making anything out of public domain. But what if I want Gemini to learn from me? Or what if I want to find a way to train Gemini to perform specific actions? Okay, so Gemini Advanced, it's the only version that will include that one. So if you have a starter license, you do not have gems. But if you have a standard or plus version, then you can just go here at the bottom left corner, Gem Manager, and you can click to create a new gem. How does that work? You create a name. So whatever thing you need, let's say I need a legal assistant. Maybe I work at the legal department and I receive like 80, 90 contracts on a daily basis, and I need to analyze those contracts and confirm that there's no worries or no problems that can affect none of the parties involved within the contract. Or I want to receive some suggestions to rewrite some of those policies within the contract, or whatever that could be. Then I have to train my model here with simple sentences. So my instructions will be analyze contracts and share with me any red flags for all parties involved. Then I can say a second sentence could be suggest improved policies whenever needed. And I can say, for example, use updated laws from state California as of 2025. You can continue writing whatever you want, right? So you have the power to say more here. I'm just going to keep it with 3 simple sentences. And even though those are very simple sentences, I can just click here on the artificial intelligence button to help me rewrite. So I want you to notice on the magic of this, because even though I started with 3 simple sentences, I want you to take a look of everything that happened here. So artificial intelligence is understanding that those are my 3 purposes on creating this gem, but then it's giving more specific instructions as to the initial inquiry, the contract and analysis, A, B, C, and D, the policy suggestions, A, B, C, and D, the overall tone, so everything they're supposed to do. Of course, I can read the whole thing, modify it, customize it, add, replace, whatever you need. It's up to you. And then I can still here at the bottom where it says knowledge, I can add files. So I can say, for example, I have a model of a contract. So I want you to use this as a template, and every single contract is supposed to be on this very own template that I'm sharing with you. Or I can say something like, I have a file that has currently the updated laws for the state of California. So you can use this just to make sure that everything is under compliance. So you can upload up to 10 files with any additional information that you consider will be helping the gem with knowledge. And once you're happy with your gem, all you have to do is click on save. And now it will ask you even if you want to start right over with using it. So now I'm with my legal assistant. That's why it tells me here on top. So even my prompt will be easier now because now the gem already knows what they are supposed to do. So I don't have to go with a huge prompt anymore. Maybe it will be a simpler prompt. I just bring the file, send it, and say something specific about this one. And then my legal assistant can go over that and complete whatever I'm supposed to do. And also important here to mention, whenever you're building your own gem, keep in mind that's important you provide information about the format as well. So do you need a table? Do you need an image? Remember what we said earlier with the prompting? The same thing happens here. Whatever you're supposed to get from that gem, you're supposed to ask for it to happen. If you made a mistake, or if after trying the gem for a couple of days, you need to continue with the fine tuning, well, if you want to fine tune your gem, you can just click on the three dots of the gem, say edit, and it will allow you to go back to the instructions and knowledge, and you can replace files, add more information, replace here, whatever you want, and then just click on update here at the top right corner, and that will keep your gem updated. And you can do and create as many gems as you wish. So this is up to you. But remember, this is also important to keep in mind, available only for Gemini Advanced users. So if you have a starter license, you do not have gems. Now, the last tool that I wanted to show you is Notebook. For that one, I do need to open a new tab on my web browser. Type notebooklm.google.com, simple as that, and it will send you to your homepage. So welcome to Notebook LM Plus. The Plus version, as I said, compared to the basic one can only have 50 sources of information. The Plus can have up to 300. And also the sharing option that changes a little bit. So for example, I have a couple of notebooks here that were created by some of my coworkers, and they were shared with me. Important thing to mention is notebooks can only be shared with internal users for your own domain. So that those cannot be shared externally. So on this specific notebook, I want you to notice that they added different files. All of them are talking about Notebook LM, how Notebook works, what can be done, what type of files are accepted. So now, after adding those sources of information, which I can have up to 300, I can start asking questions here in the center. I even have some suggested questions at the bottom if I don't even know what to ask. They give me a couple of suggested questions that I can use. So for example, if I use this one, what source type and formats are best for using Notebook LM effectively? And this is the answer it gave me. So it tells me, okay, recommended source type, Google Docs, Google Slides, PDFs, text files, Markdown files, web URLs. But I want you to notice that each of those answers is having a reference dot. So if I just hover over that dot, it will give me details as to the original source where this information was found. It tells me that the name of the file is this, and this is exactly what it says. So you can just go ahead and review the original source by just hovering over the information that you wanted to check, right? Now, on the left side of the screen, you can continue adding more sources. So for example, if I add here add source, well, this is not mine, so it will not let me do it, but let me show you a new one. So add sources, and those are the type of sources that can be added. So I can upload from my computer PDF, plain text, Markdown files, or audio, for example, MP3. On my Google Drive, I can use Google Docs, Google Slides. If I want to add the link, that could be a link for a website or for a YouTube video. And then if I have something that's not even in a document, it's just plain text that I copy somewhere, I can just go ahead and paste it here, and it will be added as a source. I want you to notice at the bottom, because I'm in plus, tells me that 0 sources out of 300 that I can use. Now, once you start adding sources, those sources will be listed here, as you notice on the other example that I was showing you. And even if I need, for example, for this specific question that I'm about to ask, I do not want to include the 3 last sources of information. I can just disable them, and then I can ask something, and it will be using only the first 4 sources of information. So that's something else you can do. You can choose one of those sources to be applied or not. And if you want to have a quick summary on one of the sources, as simple as you just click on it, It will give you a quick summary on that specific source of information, and even will add buttons of navigation so you can go through a specific subjects in the document specifically, right? So that's another important thing. Now, on the right-hand side of the screen, you can start creating notes. So for example, if I ask something on the chat, the answer that I get, I can add it as a note. So it will stay here on the right side of the screen. Or I can use the quick access buttons here to create a study guide, a frequently asked question, a briefing doc, or a timeline if there are some specific dates. So by just clicking on that, it will start creating a note with all that information based on your request. And on top of the screen, we also have the benefit that we can just go ahead and create. Let me go back here. We can go ahead and create. So let's say if I add something here, let me go back to an existing one. So if I say maybe this one here for Google Sheets. So this one here for Google Sheets will have also the power on the right side of the screen that I can go ahead and create a podcast for about 10 or 15 minutes, more or less. So if you just click here and generate, it will be generating a quick episode of a podcast, a deep dive. It's a conversation with two hosts, a woman and a man, and they will be discussing everything listed on my sources of information that I added here. So I can just generate that one, or I can just, before generating that, I can customize. So I can write here information as to specific details or specific information I would like them to go over on the podcast. I can just describe those issues here. And basically that's what they're going to consider. And once I generate it, it will be generating the podcast. So it's totally generated with artificial intelligence. Then I can go ahead and have that downloaded, and I can play it as many times as I wish. So they will be just discussing everything in a conversation, very similar to a podcast episode. And then I can share the audio with other people if I want to. But at the end of the day, this is a very easy way to learn about everything I launch here as a source, because they will be just discussing that in about 10 or 15 minutes, as I said. Usually that's the time they take. Remember, I said that if you have the plus, you do have a couple of additional benefits. Well, it's about the analytics. So I can start sharing this notebook with other users, and after 7 days of use, I can check on some information here about the analytics, so statistics on how they are using my notebook. And also another benefit you have by having Plus is that whenever you share, you can have the option to share with the whole company as viewers. So that's something important here. But other important option here as well at the bottom is that you can say, I do not want to share the full notebook. If there are viewers, I just want them to be able to chat and get information based on my sources. So I can change that here from the drop-down menu and say chat only. And then I can share with the whole company by copying the link and sending the link to everybody else. But at the end, that will be just sharing the chat. So how does that look? Let me show you an example here. I do have one that's talking about pricing, this one here. As you notice, it was shared with me only with the chat option available. So I'm not the owner for this notebook. And since it was shared with me as chat only, then that's the only thing I can do. I don't have access to the sources on the left, and I don't have access to the other tools on the right. The only thing I can do is chat, get an answer, and that's it. So this could work. For example, if you're launching their operations manuals or whatever thing you consider is necessary for the other people in your company, and then you can share with them as a chat only option. So there's one person that should be in charge of maintaining that notebook and making sure that it's always updated, but then the rest of the company can have access to that information, chat with it, ask for information, and they can get it very soon. But at the end, they don't play with the whole notebook. So that's another benefit you have available whenever you have Notebook LM Plus. With this one, we're getting to the end of today's session. I just wanted to thank you very much for staying, even though we took a few more minutes compared to what was originally scheduled. But thank you very much. We do appreciate your business. Hopefully, this is giving you a lot of new information that you can use towards your company. And as I said, make sure you share with others as soon as possible, because it's important they understand the risk of using other free of charge tools out there in the market by just making information out of public domain and doing things that they were not supposed to do. so we can keep it in a safe environment by just working with Gemini specifically. So thank you again. I don't see any questions that were shared through the Q&A section. I'm assuming everything is okay for now. So thank you. Have a nice day. Have a nice rest of the week, and see you probably on another session in the future. Bye now.